Minasan otsukaresama desu, and welcome to Beyond the Dojo. Yes, I am actually at the dance studio again, where I hold the online lessons, and it's about what 20 minutes before the class begins. Again, I'm using this time to record this podcast. So it's getting a lot warmer now in Kyoto. And training, we've already started using the AC, the cooler, and I cannot believe how suddenly it's gotten so much hotter in Kyoto. Is it the same around the world? Can you guys let me know how it's like? I feel like spring is gone. April we were talking about how cold it is still, and it's unbelievable that the cherry blossoms are already blooming in this coldness. Yeah. And then a week later we're talking about, is this already summer? It's been really crazy, and we feel like I'm starting to think that I've been saying this every year almost. I guess this is like becoming the new normal of the seasons. I really feel like spring is gone now. Is that the same around the world, or is it just in Kyoto? If you can let me know. Okay. And with all that said, I just wanted to share with you something that I learned from tea ceremony in this episode. I train in, of course, Asayama Ichiden-ryu Hyoho and Budo very seriously, but I also train in no theater and tea ceremony very seriously too. And what I learned through tea ceremony and no theater and Asayama Ichiden-ryu really complement each other, if that makes sense. They really reinforce the teachings from each other. Yeah. And I really am happy that I'm training in different forms of art too. I talked about this before, but the headmaster, Seki Sensei, he is a instructor class, Shihan level in many Ryuha styles and different weaponry, not just Asayama Ichiden-ryu, right? And I really admire that, I respect that very much, that even though he's already a headmaster of a certain Ryuha, he continues to study and learn, different Ryuha styles, and he continues to be a student, basically, And I really love that attitude. I respect it very much. So I want to be like him, of course, because I look up to Seki Sensei. But do I want to do, multiple other Ryuha styles and such? Of course, I do Negi Shiryu Shurigenjutsu, the one and only Kori Shurigenjutsu that exists, because Seki Sensei, also Kurosawa Sensei does it, and they invited me to train with them, and I was really interested. So I, of course, am enjoying that very much. But am I interested in doing any other, for example, katana martial arts or katana Budo Ryuha styles and such? The answer is absolutely no. I love Asayama Ichiden-ryu a bit too much. Yeah. And I'm sure if I start training in a different Ryuha style, I'll probably start thinking I should be using my time on Asayama Ichiden-ryu and not here, because there's so much I still have to learn and train in Asayama Ichiden-ryu basically until the day I die. Yeah. And right now, currently, I have too many things that I have to study and learn and train, and I don't want to waste any of my time on anything, But with that said, though, I don't want to only see Asayama Ichiden-ryu from Asayama Ichiden-ryu's point of view, just like Seki Sensei has been doing. I want to see it from different points of view, so I have been training in tea ceremony and no theater very seriously. For those of you who've been listening to Beyond the Dojo for a while now, you know that I have doubled the amount of training, or more than doubled actually. For tea ceremony, I've tripled my amount of training that I do every month with my tea ceremony sensei. And for no theater, I've doubled it. And like I talked about before, for no theater, I'm going to be doing my very first official no performance next year. And for tea ceremony too, I'm aiming to become for now, my goal is to become a semi-instructor that allows me to teach people how to do usucha, which is the thin tea. Yeah, that's my goal for now. Hopefully I'll be able to achieve that maybe in my earliest possible. It might be in my early 30s. I'm not too sure. I'm 32 this year in summer. But if it's possible, maybe in my early 30s, maybe sometimes during my 30s, I'll be able to get there. And I'll probably just continue. Maybe I'll start teaching alongside training myself. And I might even support my sensei teaching her class. She was talking about that because she said that eventually, very soon, I'll start growing very old and might not be able to teach my own class. So in that case, I really want my students to help teach the new students, if that makes sense. And I'm hoping to raise my hand to that and ask if I can do that for her, So that's my goal, yeah. And so tea ceremony, I've actually, among all the three things that I do, no theater, Asayama Ichiden-ryu, tea ceremony, surprisingly, is the one that have been training the most. If you include the time I've been training in Iaido, of course, I've been training with the katana the longest, but Asayama Ichiden-ryu is actually the shortest among no theater tea ceremony. And so Asayama Ichiden-ryu, I started, 4 years ago? I've been training for 3 full years, and this is my 4th year. Tea ceremony, I started training even before I was engaged with my wife. Yeah, so that was, how many years ago? 9 years ago, almost 10 years now. But there have been almost 3 years in between that I haven't been training though. The year my first daughter was born, I think I quit to, of course, help out Harumi, my wife, to take care of our first baby. And then after that, we got back into training. Then right after that, COVID came. And you guys know I lost 5 million yen into a new business that I wanted to start because COVID started like 3 months after my first business, you know? And so there was no way I can continue training in tea ceremonies. So I quit then. And then I got back into training again. And after about a year, my third child, my son, was about to be born, so I had to quit again. And about maybe less than a year, I got back into training. And I recently actually just got back into training about half a year ago. Yeah. So from the day I started training tea ceremony, it's been about 10 years or so now. But I've probably only been training for like 6 full years or so. So I really don't have that much experience. But I really, really love my sensei. I respect her very much as a tea master, as a tea ceremony practitioner. And so many of the teachings that she has taught me has enriched my life. It's changed my perspective of how I see things, life itself, how I see life itself. And she was the person that made me fall in love with tea ceremony. Yeah, I don't have that many opportunities to talk about it, but I seriously love tea ceremony. I can probably say that I love my sensei's tea world, her tea ceremony, as much as I love Asayama Ichiden-ryu and Seki Sensei's world of Budo. So yeah, there was one class the other day that really made me realize that the reason why I love tea ceremony so much, I just told you that I loved probably my sensei's tea as much as Seki Sensei's Budo, but there was a teaching that my tea ceremony sensei gave me recently again, that made me realize why I love Asayama Ichiden-ryu so much. So again, tea ceremony was what I started first, right? And I've been training with my tea master for almost about a decade now. And the lesson with her the other day, what happened is that, if I really need to explain the details of the tea ceremony training itself to be able to actually understand what scene this is. But basically it's a scene where the first guest, the main guest and the host, which I'm training to be at my tea ceremony sensei's tea room, we basically do have a conversation. It's a sort of a fixed conversation. There's rules of what you should ask, what you should say, and stuff like that. But the conversation in between is obviously, you do it naturally, just like you're speaking to someone. And when I was doing that with my sensei, so we're basically both acting, I'm imagining that my sensei is the guest that I invited to my tea ceremony and we're just training right now. And then when I was answering some of the questions, she was like, Shogo, let's redo that again from the top. Let's redo it from the beginning. And she told me when I was talking with her, in the tea ceremony conversation, she was like, please imagine, right now you have your tea sensei sitting here. Please imagine the one who's sitting here is your son. He's 3 years old, isn't he? She said. If he asked you a question about whatever tools you're using today, how would you answer him? And I said, I would probably say, Zen, this is blah, blah, blah. We were talking about the tea utensils, and the host is in charge of introducing the tea utensils they use that day. And I would probably tell him that this is something, something. That's right, she said. Say it like that when I ask that same question too. She said, tea needs to be an extension of our normal lives, of our regular lives. There are, of course, rules to how we have to move. There are so many rules, actually, but you cannot show that. Okay? So there are basically katas, in Budo we would call them katas, right? There are katas to how we have to move, how we have to do things. But the moment you show that you're doing a kata, it's over. It's meaningless. Okay? No one's going to be satisfied. There is absolutely no hospitality if the moment you show that you're doing a kata. Speak naturally. Okay? And guys, this is exactly one 1000% the same thing that's taught in Asayama Ichiden-ryu. If you are an Asayama Ichiden-ryu trainee, you've been training with Seki Sensei as long as I have. The members who've been training in the online lessons very long, I'm sure you've heard of this teaching from Seki Sensei many, many times. But we say in Asayama Ichiden-ryu, for example, iai has no color, no scent. Okay, the techniques of iai drawing the katana must have no color, no scent, which means you cannot be like, I'm going to be drawing my katana or I'm going to be swinging. No, it has to be as natural as you're just walking down the streets. Okay, if I've explained this in my online lessons, I've shared this concept with my members too. But if you still think that having a katana on your waist and drawing it out and swinging it is something special and it's making you unique, then you've definitely not practiced enough. You have to keep on practicing until picking up your katana is like picking up your toothbrush in the morning or at night. Okay, you got to keep on practicing until picking up a katana is like taking your shower head from when you want to take a shower, when you pick up your chopsticks, when you pick up your spoon and fork from the table, when you eat your meal. It has to be that natural, and that's exactly what my tea ceremony sensei has taught me. She once told me too that when I did the movement of serving the tea bowl, basically after I complete the tea, I pick it up and put it down on the tatami next to me for the guests to come and pick it up, you know. When I did that, when I put it down on the floor, she was, nope, pick that back up, move back forward again, and redo that movement. That was really, really unnatural. Imagine your daughter asked you to get a cup of water, okay? Would you put that cup of water on the table like that? Would you be like, here is a cup of water? No. You'd be like, put the water, there you go. You put it on the table, and you'd say, here you go. Okay? Can you guys guess why my sensei continues to say, imagine your children? Can you guys guess? If you ever trained in tea ceremony, you know about tea ceremony, I'm sure you can guess, but it's because I love them. Okay? It has to be natural, but also there has to be true love, true hospitality in that image. That's the reason why my sensei keeps on telling me that please imagine your children asking you these questions or you're serving tea to your kids. This applies for Budo too, which is really interesting because, like we said, it has to have no color, no scent, but then is it the same feeling as picking up a toothbrush? No, because you're fighting, right? So if your iai techniques, if your Budo techniques is just simply nothing, then that's not correct either, okay? There has to be a blast in your feeling. Seki Sensei always says, you don't draw a katana with your head, with your brain, you draw it with your heart, okay? So there is a moment of the blast, if that makes sense. This is really hard to explain, but there is something there, yeah. But to express that something, do you do it with color? Do you do it with scent? The answer is no. Okay? You have to continue training until your katana is your toothbrush, your fork, your spoon, your chopsticks. Then, ahead of that, yeah, there is something that we still need to find and see and seek. Yeah. And that, I really feel, is why my sensei continues to ask me to imagine my kids are there and I'm doing it for my kids. Because I love them unconditionally, right? Yeah. And that's exactly what tea ceremony is supposed to be like. So, experiences like this, teachings like this from my tea ceremony sensei really makes me realize why I love Asayama Ichiden-ryu so much. The fine principles, the deep teachings are the same. Yeah, it's teaching us the same thing. And that's probably the reason why I love my sensei so much. Please don't misunderstand, this is my last thing I'll be talking about today. My class has to begin in a couple of minutes. Please don't misunderstand, not every tea ceremony ryuha, not every tea ceremony sensei is like this. Obviously, there are many, many tea ceremony masters who are like, move almost like a robot, basically. Tea ceremony is a special, unique, it's a fine, sophisticated atmosphere. It must be done with elegance kind of thing, which just goes against completely with what my tea ceremony sensei teaches, but there are plenty of senseis who talk about that on social media, who make content about that, and which I personally do not like at all, which is the same as Budo, right? Yeah. So please don't misunderstand, it's not all tea ceremonies are like that, but my sensei us TA's world. Her world is like that. That's the reason why I respect and love her TA world so much, and that's exactly the reason why I want to learn from her as long as I can. Yeah, she is. She's been constantly telling me that I don't know how long I'll be able to continue teaching, you know, and of course it's due to her age and such. But I really want to try to learn from her as much as possible. That's the reason why I've been tripling the amount of time that I train, you know. But anyways, I wanted to share this really interesting story with you, and I think it's an important thing that if you are an Asayama Ichiden trainee, this is an important teaching that Seki Sensei always teaches us too, so I think it's really important that we all remember this. Okay? Then guys, thank you so much. I'll be heading over to my last lesson then. Bye-bye guys.